Hey, what's up? Zach here at Tennis Point USA here in Sharonville, Ohio. And these are my favorite tennis shoes for every foot type, game style, and injury you might be bringing to the tennis court. Here we go. And remember, if you want a comprehensive list of all the shoes that I've reviewed this year, I do have that as a digital download down below with all the heel heights, heel to toe drops, shuttle test, serve test, any kind of stat I use on this channel if you want it in one document, that is down below. All right, let's get started with number one, foot type. So let's say you're a wider foot player. You have a couple options. Number one is you can get a shoe that just comes in a wider width, something like the New Balance Fresh Foam Lab V2, or you can grab a shoe that just comes wider lasted, something like, say, the Adidas Soul Match Control. Now, say you're somebody with a more narrow foot. You're gonna want something that's gonna envelop that foot more and not allow it to slam around in the shoe. Something like the Nike Zoom Court Next or even the Mizuno Wave Exceed Tour 5. But if you're somebody with more of a neutral foot, your options are pretty wide. You just don't wanna go with anything super wide like a 4E and a New Balance, or go down a half size on something like the Nike Vapor Pro. Just remember, you can pretty much stick to any shoe on this wall or on this list that you can see above. Just don't go to the extremes. So let's say you're somebody with a higher arched foot. You want something that's gonna forgive that higher arch, a little bit more volume of foam under the forefoot of the shoe. Something like the K-Swiss Ultra Shot 3, or even, like I said, Diadora Blue Shield Fly or New Balance Fresh Foam Lab V2. But if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, someone with a flatter foot, you want something with more bulky and stout materials under your arch or the medial side of the shoe. Something like the Diadora Blue Shield Torneo or the A6 Gel Resolution 8. All right, number two, game style. So if you're someone that serves and volleys a lot, you need a shoe that can get you from the baseline to the net super quick. Something like the Adidas Ubersonic 4, Mizuno Wave Exceed Tour 5, or even something like the Lotto Raptor Hyperpulse 100. Now, if you're someone who likes to slide on a hard court a lot, you need a shoe that, number one, the pattern on the outsole that allows you to slide, but number two, enough durability in the uppers and the outsole, something like the Wilson Rush Pro 4.0. Now, let's say you're a big serve plus one player. You need a shoe that's gonna give a ton of forgiveness when you're coming down from a huge serve and being able to plant right away for that next shot. Something like the Adidas Soul Match Control, Diadora Blue Shield Torneo, or once again, Fresh Foam Lab V2. Now, opposite from a serve plus one, if you're someone that grinds out points on the baseline, needs a lot of flexibility and freedom of movement, something like the Onyx Fusion Rev 4 or even the Onyx Eclipsean 4 are both shoes that can get you side to side really quick. Now, if you're someone that only cares about speed, you want a shoe that either has a lot of propulsive power or a shoe that's light enough to get off the ground easy. Something like the Nike Zoom Court Next, the Adidas Barricade, the Adidas Ubersonic, or even the Wave Exceed Tour 5. Now, if you're looking for a shoe for multiple surfaces, say you play on hard and clay or hard on carpet, whatever, you want a shoe with a pretty aggressive herringbone pattern, something like the Adidas Barricade, the K-Swiss Hypercourt Express, or even the Diadora Blue Shield Torneo. Now, let's say you play a really aggressive all-court game, you pretty much cover every angle on the court. You need a shoe that's gonna be able to get you in and out of those angles, something like the New Balance 796, the Diadora B Icon, or even the Adidas Ubersonic 4. Now, if you're someone that plays primarily doubles or pickleball, you need a shoe for really shifty footwork in a contained space. Something like the Babolat Jet Mach 3 or Adidas Barricade. And of course, thanks to Tennis Point USA for sponsoring this video. Like I said in the other one of my top 5 videos, I wasn't aware that Tennis Point is the largest online retailer of tennis equipment in the world. And more than just that, like I've said countless times, I love being with Tennis Point because they truly care about growing the game. So if you want to grow the game as well as get some great tennis gear, make sure you click my link in the description below if you're planning on picking up any of these shoes. All right, back to the video. All right, number 3, injuries, body type, and chronic conditions. Now, if you're someone that suffers from heel pain, you need a shoe with a little bit more forgiveness under the heel and a pretty stout heel counter so you're not shifting all around. Something like the Diadora Blue Shield Torneo or something like the Adidas Soul Match Control. But if you're somebody with ankle sprain issues, you need a shoe with a really either aggressive lateral flange or something with really excellent containment, something like the Onyx Eclipsean 4 or Babolat Jet Mach 3. Now, let's say you're somebody with more arch strain, tendinitis, more flat foot type pain. You want something a little more meat underneath the arch of your foot, something like the A6 Gel Resolution 8. Now, if you're somebody with Achilles pain, you want something kind of like a shoe that's good for heel pain. And it's gonna lock your heel in, give you a little more shock absorption, like the Diadora Blue Shield 5, Babolat Jet Mach 3, or even something like the K-Swiss Hypercourt Supreme. Now, if you're somebody with ball of foot pain, it's probably one of the most annoying things you could have. You want something with a lot of forgiveness underneath the ball of your foot, but also something that offloads the ball of your foot. Something like the New Balance Fresh Foam Lab V2, Diadora Blue Shield Fly, or Diadora Blue Shield Torneo. This is kind of like the wall of champions here, I guess. Now, if you're somebody with shin splints, you need a shoe with a lot of rotational control and shock absorption. Actually, a sneaky good pick would be the Wilson Rush Pro 4.0, but once again, Diadora Blue Shield Torneo or something like the Lotto Raptor Hyperpulse 100. Now, if you're somebody with knee, hip, or back pain, once again, you need something with good shock absorption. Something like the New Balance Fresh Foam Lab V2, Lotto Raptor Hyperpulse 100, even Coco CG1 are going to give you a lot of that shock absorption so that doesn't go back up the chain. And you have to take your own body weight into consideration. Let's say you're a denser tennis player like I am versus a lighter weight player like Nate behind the camera. My God, I have no idea. You're going to use vastly different shoes. If you're someone like me, you don't want to be pummeling through a shoe like the Mizuno Wave Exceed Tour 5. When it's new, it'll be fine, but over time it might not. Versus someone like me might like the Torneo a little bit better. Versus if you're someone like Nate behind the camera, you'll want something a little bit lighter like the Ubersonic because you don't want to be hauling a heavier shoe around all the time. And if you're someone that wears orthotics or braces, you're going to want a shoe that can accommodate that more. Something with a little bit of a higher heel counter like the Coco CG1. And if you are somebody with a narrow heel or rear foot, you probably want to be in a shoe with a little bit more of a slipper tongue design, something that can lock around that heel, something like the Adidas Ubersonic 4. And so if you're looking for the best shoe for you, just take each category that you fit best in. Say you're a wide foot serve and volleyer with heel pain. Look for the shoe that's in each one of those categories, and that usually should be a pretty good list for you to start with. So once again, thanks to Tennis Point USA for sponsoring this video. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you in the next one.